Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be speaking about CSS and floating elements. Now what exactly is floating elements? It's kind of positioning elements, but it is kind of taking them out of the web page and making the and cheating the web page a little bit and the other boxes. It's easier if I just show it to you how to do it. So this is our web page at the moment. There's nothing on there. We're just going to build a kind of a couple of boxes next to each other and position a few things around and play with them a little bit. So I've just got a simple web page here. Nothing's on it. So let's just first start by making a wrapper to put everything in. Okay, and then inside of here we're just going to put a title. So just say floating elements, and then inside of here we'll put a left box, and then we'll just copy this and put a right box. Okay, now then we'll put a sub heading down here. Let's put down here just for the sake of it. Okay, and so on, and then let's put class main body, and let's just put a tag in here saying this is the main body of the blog, as such kind of thing. Okay, so let's now go ahead and let's just give this a class as well, shall we? Main heading, and just give this one as well, say sub heading. Okay, good stuff. So let's do some classes now quickly. Let's just do the wrapper of width, let's say 600, and then the height of auto, and then margin just do 10, and to the top auto right, 0 to the bottom, and then auto left, which is just going to position it in the middle. We'll put a border on it and just say solid, and then just say A1, A1, A1. Okay, and that'll do for that for now. And then we've got the main heading, which was H3, so therefore we'll do H3 dot main heading. In other words, any H3 tag with the class of main heading. Therefore, if we use main heading for another div tag or something else, then it's not going to correspond to that one because it's only going to work for an H3 tag. And we'll say height is 40 pixels, line height just to center up the text a little bit, and I always find just knock a couple of pixels off the height, it always seems to work fine. We're just going to do text indent 5 pixels just to bring it in, and up here, just because I kind of like to do this, we're going to say font family Arial, color equals 1 2 3 4 5 6. That's 7, isn't it? Yep, 6. And then margin equals 0, and then padding equals 0, just to knock out any padding and margin. Okay, so we've got now the main that one there done, and that one there. Now we've got, so we've done the main heading. Now we're going to do the left and right box. So we know that this box is 600. Therefore, we're just going to couple left and right box together. Okay, just to give them some size first of all. And we're going to say width equals 300, height equals auto. Actually, we'll give them a height of 200 pixels each, and background. Actually, won't put a background on it for the time being. Okay, so that's now telling the two boxes the size. So we're going to say left box is going to then float left. Okay, I'm going to explain all this in a minute. So then we're just going to say then right box, then I'll put left float. That's crazy, that. And then this one is then going to float right, and then let's just copy this again, and let's put subheading here as well, shall we? Just because they're going to be the same, can't be bothered. Okay, so let's now main body. Well, we'll ignore the main body for the minute. Okay, as you can see here, we've got. Let's just give the left and right some colours. So let's put background of let's say green, yellow, and let's copy this for this, and then let's say, well, let's say purple, shall we? Seems pretty cool. Okay, let's give this a refresh. Okay, and there we go. As you can see, we've got now our title, okay, which is there, and our left and right box. If we change the screen size, okay, then we can see that they still sit together. Okay, it's not dropping over because what we've done is we've set a width of the wrapper on the outside. Therefore, they can change the screen size all they want. Okay, but if they then make it smaller, or the width smaller, then it's just going to position it in the center. Okay, now to be honest with you, it's my own personal opinion, is I keep the boxes, the web page main wrappers always the same. I mean, I fix the size. I normally work about 990 width. Therefore, if you do have an older a monitor that only has a resolution of 1024, then you've still got enough space for scroll bars and stuff like that, and it sits nicely. But I think personally 1000 pixels for a central web page is kind of okay. If you're going to put the web page all the way to the left hand side, then you can start using other methods. But so what does float do first of all? Okay, float, as you can see here, we said the left box, which is this one here, you can see down here, left box, we said float left, okay, and then we said the right box float right. Now because we got the width perfectly matched out, okay, now we said basically each box was going to be 300, okay. Now because we said the main wrapper is 600, therefore the two boxes can sit in perfectly next to each other, okay, and you know the 300 plus 300 is 600. It sits in that gap perfectly positioned. Therefore there's no room for it to get no room for it to move left or right. And when we move the web page, this doesn't affect it at all, because we said that the wrapper is 600 in width. Therefore there's nothing moving. But when you come down here, you see this H4. Okay, this H4 is kind of going all the way up to the top. Okay, so it's kind of not seeing these two boxes at all, because when you float, it potentially takes it out of the page, and any other element that's not been floated, okay, then doesn't see it, and it will sit until it kind of fills the web page, until it kind of fills any boxes, and the only place it can ever sit is potentially here, because it cannot overlap. Okay, but although the actual H4 tag itself, the next possible space is sat by the main heading. Okay, therefore this H4 is potentially actually sat underneath this floating elements H3 tag, although the two boxes, the left and right box, they're pushing it out the way and pushing it down. But this box here thinks it's actually below this floating elements tag, because it cannot see these two boxes potentially. Now, in order for us to get this box here the correct size, because if we look at this, you see that our H4 tag has got a height of 219. That's crazy, a crazy size. It should be 40. Okay, we told it to be 40, but it's turned out to be 219. Or did we do that properly? Oh no, it was H4, wasn't it? That's why. Let's just change that then quickly, because it was H4 that we wanted. Let's refresh that. Okay, and as you can see there, that now we get even more problems, right? Because this subheading is now there, as you can see. It's been positioned and it's underneath, and now this body's been pushing up again underneath where the H4 should be. Okay, So the floating elements, it causes all sorts of problems, but then it also solves all sorts of problems as well. Okay, so you have to know a couple of things: how to put non-floating elements next to floating elements, and when to use floating elements and when to not use them. Okay. Now, when you put a floating element inside of a box that's got a height of auto, okay, that box doesn't see these elements inside. Therefore, if it doesn't have any other content that's been specifically set of a height, okay, then it will assume that it's size of 0. Okay, and if we look at this, the wrapper at the moment, okay, the wrapper is going. It's got some height, but potentially it's these boxes that are not, haven't got any float on it, given its size. Okay, now if we remove this, so we won't actually delete it, but we'll just comment it out. Okay, comment this out, and actually we want to comment this out as well. Okay, so now we've got the main heading, and we'll refresh the page again. And what we want to show you is the size of the actual wrapper. See, the wrapper is only the size of its content which it can see, which is the H3 tag. Okay, so you've floated the elements left and right. You can visually see them, they're there, but that doesn't help you with the wrapper because the wrapper is not noticing them. Now in Internet Explorer it does notice them. Okay, in Firefox it doesn't, and I believe in Safari it does notice them, Chrome it doesn't, and so on. So you have to have a play around with the different browsers. It tends to be which engine the browser actually has. Although we can fix this kind of easily, is by telling the main outer wrapper itself, which has floated elements as first level child elements, we can just say overflow is hidden. Now this might sound like a bad thing, but it fixes the elements. See, now we've got the border come on the outside, right? It wasn't there a second ago, so let's just take that out again. Okay, and come back to here and refresh. Just watch the border go. Okay, and you see the border's disappeared. It's now up here. Okay, so it's because it's not seeing these boxes. These boxes are just stepping outside of it because the browser says, hey, they're there, and we can see the color, but the actual wrapper itself does not see them. Okay, it's just the way that the browser has interpreted this CSS. So by overflow hidden, this basically tells the box on the outside, hey, you know, you just find everything inside and you position yourself to what's inside. Because we haven't given it a height, we've gave it a height of auto, therefore it starts listening to the floated elements inside. So it works in a different manner, therefore it's always more advisable to use overflow hidden when you've got floated elements within inside. Now if we now put the H4 tag back, okay, and we put this down here, so now we put the H4 tag back again, we're still posed with the same problem now. Okay, see, this H4 tag now is underneath. Okay, so it's not even going to get displayed because these float left and right, or these left and right box are floating, therefore this H4 tag is underneath of it because it can't see them. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, if we know that we've got an element that could possibly be sat beneath and elements that are floated left and right, well, we can tell it to completely ignore floated left and right elements. So therefore on subheading, okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to say clear both. Now this clear, you can do clear left, you can do clear right, or you can do clear both. This means that it's going to clear any floated elements above it. Okay, so it doesn't care. It starts seeing the floated elements, and it's going to make sure it sits on its own line, and it's going to ignore them completely. So if it sees a floated element, it's going to say, hey, I'm going to drop to the next line. It's kind of like putting a break tag before and after your elements. So if you come here, now you can see that we get the head in there once again. And if we come onto here, we can see now that our H4 tag on Firebug is actually being positioned correctly, although we are getting, oh no, we are getting the right size now. See, H4 we're getting 40 by 600. Now if we have a check what this is, whoops. Oh, it's easy just to take the line out. Let's take it out and leave it on the clipboard, shall we? Okay, so now if we come and have a look at our H4 tag, okay, we've still got 600 by 40, but what size have we got, the box got at the moment? So it's got 241. Okay, so each box here is 200, and then plus this box here, and then the border. So that's fine. It's not potentially not recognizing this box. Because it should be 240, 80, 280ish, and so on. Okay, so and also if you're doing any styling, any work with JavaScript as well, it then kind of removes any sizes and stuff if you've got to do repositioning. So understanding how to use float is hugely important, because I would stay away from using position absolute in these scenarios, because then that is really an absolute position. And what happens if you change things? Because you could say that this green box is using position absolute, and say that the top left hand corner is top 40 and then left 0. Well, what happens if you make this title a little bit larger? Okay, so if we at the moment we've just said that the height of these main headings was 40, so let's put height auto and keep the line height in. Okay, and then let's add let's just copy this a whole bunch of times, and let's see what happens now. Okay, so now as you can see, it comes down nicely. Alright, so the title, it kind of auto extends itself, and the boxes beneath, they move down as well. So it's a kind of way of keeping your elements nicely, not being able to auto expand and such. You know, but if you've got elements that are floating left and right, you need to make certain that those boxes that they will sit correctly when other things auto expand. Okay, but the only solution really, the only solution really when you want to make the page smaller would be then to float left. Okay, now at the moment this purple box is floated right. Okay, but because our main wrapper is got a fixed size, now if we had it a size of auto, then we would have to then say clear left to this one, because okay, let's just do that to show you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make the wrapper, okay, size auto. Okay, and now I'll show you what happens with this. Okay, and as you can see now, it kind of goes all over the shop, everywhere. Okay, so, and because the purple box was float right, it's gone to the furthest most right space, and because the wrapper's auto, it's gone to the width of the actual window itself, or the body. Okay, therefore we want to have the purple box now come back to the left again, if that's what you wanted. So let's just say that the purple box is now float left, and let's bring that back over. Now as you can see, the H3 tag, okay, that's auto as well, therefore it's just going to take up all of the room. But if we then said H3 and then main heading has a width of, say, I don't know, 600, you can now watch what's going to happen with these boxes. Okay, first of all, they've, oh yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I personally would have thought that green box would have come round there, but did we tell them to clear left? Oh yeah, look, we told the maiden headings to clear left. There we go, so that's why. So now you can see that oh, okay, wait a minute, float left, alright, but that's going to 600. That's weird. Okay, but that's popping in there. I'd have personally thought that would have gone to there, but height is also auto. Width is that. width is that 600. Maybe that's because the body couldn't, it should be able to allow it in. I'll have to have a look at that. But unless it's not, okay, so that's the way. Sometimes you really have to toy around with floating, okay, to see what's going to happen. But there's a few principles to remember with floating, is that it's always going to push a few things out the way every now and again. Key thing is really to remember how to use clear the clear selector as such to clear both. So you either got clear both, or clear left, or clear right. Okay, so we can show with the headings what's going to happen here. You see clear left, it knew that there was some floated elements to the left of it, therefore it's dropped to the next line. Okay, now an easy way of fixing this as well potentially would be, I believe, to use display block as well. Okay, display block, that's just pushed it right to the top, which is not what we wanted. Okay, but clear is a very powerful command, and it's then going to put it onto a nice line. And now this display block has made it as well sit basically on its own line as well, and it will push anything to the right of it, potentially underneath as well. But that's floats, so let's put the wrapper back to 600 so it kind of looks half decent. There we go, and I had it zoomed in a little bit as well. Let's take these floating elements out like that. Oops. Okay, there we go. So that's potentially it. I mean, it's oh, that's another thing as well. Okay, so the contents with inside of a floated box. So what we need to do is, let's say information in here. So now we can come to here, and you can see information is in here. Now let's just show you the stuff in here. Okay, as you can see, if we put another tag in here as well, okay, as you can see, the information that you put inside of a floated box, you know, this works exactly this works correctly. Okay, so potentially by having a floated box, whatever's inside of it is going to work exactly the same as per normal. It's just how the effect of that box has on the things outside of it and to the left of it and above it and beneath it and so on. Okay, so whatever you put inside, it's like it's like it never knew that it was floating. Okay, it's within inside, so don't think that it's going to affect the contents of the box. It's just going to sit where it needs to sit. Okay, but very useful and handy thing to use. Now you potentially use float or for, okay, that's another thing which is interesting to show you, is then let's think how we can do this. Let's think. Okay, so let's yeah, okay, that's cool. So let's just put this on here like this, and let's just put link. Okay, so now let's refresh this. Okay, so what we've got here at the moment is then our paragraph tag and our link tag. Okay, now we potentially, in this scenario, what I want to happen is I want this when we hover over this whole paragraph. Okay, I want the paragraph to change. So what we would do first of all is just say, let's say power link. And let's come down here, stick one in. So let's say P and then power link, and we'll say background equals, I don't know, E1, and so on. Now, and when we hover over this, it's going to say it's going to have background 515151. Okay, so when we come to here, we can have this, and it's going to, and then we can, yeah, so it's going to change color. But as you can see, the cursor is staying as a pointer, but when we go over the link, we're only getting one link, but we want the whole paragraph to be that link. Okay, but we could turn around and just say power link, and then with the A inside of it, that width equals 100%. Okay, and now we can come here, but that still doesn't work, right? Because a link, that it just doesn't really care. It's 100% is the size of the text. It doesn't inherit from its parent tag. It just doesn't really care. But you know, we could try then display block to show you what that does. Okay, and now that basically fills the whole box up as well. Although if you wanted another link next to it, then it wouldn't work, okay, because display block is going to work kind of like clear. Let's just show you. Let's put another one. Let's put another link on here, shall we? Like that. Okay, and as you can see, they'll drop to the bottom. Okay, each anchor tag will then drop over. So potentially on links like that, I don't like display block so much. So just to show you, first of all, let's get rid of that other link here, okay, to show you what I was talking about. So using display block, not too handy. If you want to take up the whole box, then very handy. If you want to just take up the size of the anchor tag, which you're going to tell it to have, so we could potentially say the anchor tag has got padding of 25 pixels right and then 25 pixels left. Okay, so then we've got this kind of nice size box. Although, why has that gone all the way? Did I say float left? Why did I say float left then? Didn't want to do that. Okay, so now we've got this nice size box, right? And wherever we go on the link is cool. And obviously down here it does nothing. Now, as I showed you a second ago, you could use display block. But if we then copy another one in here, okay, we'll get both links on the same line, because anchor tags potentially don't hold a break tag within it. Okay, therefore they don't push the next element onto the new line. They'll nicely sit in line next to each other. Okay, so if you put display block, then it doesn't work too well. Although using the padding kind of works well. Okay, so there's times, the point I'm trying to make here, there's times when you do and don't need floats, okay, and there's times when you can use display block, okay. Although we could then kind of override these settings and just say display in line, but I believe this should do the same thing. As you can see, it will still keep them on one line, okay. But display in line, that removes some capabilities. I don't tend to use display in line a lot. I'd potentially rather use the float and then other methods to correct it, because I find float a lot nicer to use. But that's only my own personal opinion. Okay, so by telling an anchor tag, okay, to float left or float right, okay, it will change the way that it does things. You see, it will basically take up the whole of the position, and obviously it kind of works the same as display block. So you have to have a play. I kind of, if you're going to use, yeah, that's the other thing there, is that width 100%, that will push the whole box up. But if we then come down to width auto, okay, that will only then take up the amount of position that you tell it, okay. But if we don't float left and we say 200 pixels, okay, you see, you cannot, let's see what the size of that is. You cannot size an anchor tag like that, okay. It won't let you size it unless it's had something done to it, okay. So let's say now display equals inline, okay, and you see it's still still sits the same size, and potentially that's just 19 pixels plus then the 50 padding. So we're not affecting the size or the width at all in this, unless we start giving it the likes of float, is where we can actually put some sizing on it. Although to me, I find it better to use the padding left and right, unless you specifically want a static size navigation bar or link as such. But therefore, links, they should really inherit the size of the information within inside of it rather than its container. You know, so I think if you want some buffering on the left and right hand side of it, then use some padding on some links. But float will allow you to give them some depth, or give them some width and stuff like that. So it's, and also then take up the size of the box itself. Okay. But no, potentially that's not right. That's if we then did for example in here, what do I want to do? Okay. If we then came in here, for example, and let's get rid of this, and let's use a UL tag. So it's like a kind of navigation bar that we're going to use. Okay. And let's just say home here. Okay, and let's copy this a couple of times. So let's just do a generic class on here. Okay, so let's just say let's move this up. Okay, so UL in this one, we're just going to say UL, what? Yeah. And we'll just say width equals auto, and we're going to say list style type equals none, because I don't want it. Okay, and then we will say ULLI is going to be then float left. Okay, and then we'll just say height 30 and so on, and then we can say ULLI A, and we can say then, like we did before, say this and then this. Okay, let's see what that does, shall we? Okay, and as you can see here, we then get an unordered list. But as you see here, once again, we get the same problem with the UL with floating elements. Okay, so we floated the list to the left hand side. Okay, but now the UL doesn't actually have any height. So what we can do to that once again is then we say overflow hidden, if I can type it. Okay, come back to here, and now we come and have a look again, and now you can see that the UL has actually got some height and is being recognized properly by the browser. Okay, and then the whole button, if you see here, if let's put let's put hover, let's put background equals E1. Oh, did I put a space in that? Yes, I did. So we're just telling it when the li hovers. You see that we get this space. So now let's take this again. Okay, take this one, and now let's see what color we get on this when we hover. I mean, or the space which we're going to use. See what space this tag is taking up when we hover over it, shall we? So let's just set it to red. Okay, and as you can see, it's taking up. It's only taking up the width of it. Okay, it's because we told it it's got padding 25. Okay, so potentially it's let's go to here. Okay, so it's the padding that is taking up the space, and the list one inherits the size of the element of its container. Okay, because the UL is going all the way. Okay, and you've got li. The last one isn't like massive, so the li it sizes itself to its contents rather than to its parent, unless it told otherwise. Okay. Now, the anchor tag once again is sizing itself to its content, although we've explicitly told it to have 25 padding left and right, therefore the li is sizing itself to that. Okay, but the li is retaining the height of the unordered list. Okay, therefore the anchor tag, okay, it hasn't been told to go to the height of it at all. So if we then put the float left back into the anchor tag, you know, we can see now that it still doesn't matter. Okay, it needs to be explicitly told, and I don't believe height equals auto will fix this either at the moment. So as you can see here, it doesn't. So we need to, on this scenario, we need to say height 100%, I believe. Okay, and that will do it. Alright, so the height 100%, you need to be, with anchor tags using float, explicit. This is kind of one of the main things when you can use float with the list themselves. But if we take the float off with the list tag, okay, and then do here, you can see that it now all goes underneath. Okay, and all the list tags, they then by default will take up 100% width. Okay, they have a break tag at the end, and they will continue down until they get to the furthest right element. Okay, now if we then try list display in line, we can see what type of positioning we get and whether we can continue with this. Okay, so we've got potentially they lose all sizes. So let's, at the moment the list tag isn't seeing this anchor tag. Okay, so we need to come here and say overflow hidden first of all, so it sees its content as such. Okay, it's still not seeing its content. That's because we put display in line. Okay, which kind of, I don't know, it messes things up a little bit, and we couldn't put any height on this at the moment. See, it's not caring about the height. Let's put it to 70 pixels and refresh it. It still does nothing. Okay, so display in line kind of takes away some of the flexibility that you have with these elements. Therefore, I'm not kind of too keen on using display in line. I much preferably use the floats and cause a lot of problems, and then slowly fix these problems. Okay, because it's quicker to fix the problems than it is to resolve other problems. Okay, and use other methods. So I'm a lot more of a fan of using the right CSS with the right tag. Okay, but with CSS and with the browsers and so on, and depends on which position, sometimes you never know the right answer. You just have to tweak it a little bit, and that's the nice thing about having Firebug. Okay, as you can see here, it's now positioned itself with having Firebug, because we can come here and then we can just literally reposition things, redo things, and go yep, and then you can add new styles to it there. Then all you got to do is copy the CSS, stick it in your file, save it, and they're permanent. Okay, because obviously these are just temporary measures that you do just to test them. Okay, but that's floating. I kind of discussed a few other tags as well, but that's floating elements. All right, very good tool to use, very good thing to play around with. Okay, but I would try and stay away with position absolute in these scenarios. Okay, when you specifically need to position something in the top left hand corner or something all the time, and you know it's then start using that stuff. But for boxes that want to go next to each other and navigation bars and stuff, just use float. Okay, float's a lot nicer thing to use. Okay, if you don't know who I am, then that's me, David Thorne. Thank you very much for watching. It's a pleasure. I hope you've learnt something from this. If you do have any questions, please provide me some feedback. Please let me know, and I'm happy to do a continuation video of this. That's it. I wish you a nice day. Bye.